WWE just exposed their biggest lie, and Cody Rhodes is guilty. What you're about to hear will completely change how you view WWE's so-called fair competition, and it will make you question everything Cody Rhodes has been preaching about honor and doing things the right way. Last night on SmackDown, we witnessed something that should have every wrestling fan outraged, and the fact that WWE is trying to spin this as a feel-good moment is absolutely insulting to our intelligence. Before I break down exactly what happened and why it's so wrong, answer me this: is Cody Rhodes a hypocrite who only helps people when it benefits him, or is he genuinely trying to mentor the next generation? Drop your brutally honest answer in the comments, because this situation is way more complicated than WWE wants you to believe. Carmelo Hayes vs. Bronson Reed should have been a straightforward match. Hayes, one of the most talented young stars to come out of NXT in recent years, finally getting a spotlight moment on the main roster against the massive powerhouse Bronson Reed. This was Carmelo's chance to prove he belongs in the upper echelon of SmackDown's roster. This was his opportunity to show that he doesn't need anyone's help, that he can stand on his own 2 feet and defeat a legitimate monster. But WWE and Cody Rhodes had other plans, and those plans completely undermined everything this match was supposed to represent. Let me paint the picture of how this match was going. Bronson Reed was absolutely dominating Hayes for the first 10 minutes. We're talking about a man who weighs over 300 pounds throwing Carmelo around like a ragdoll. Reed hit his signature tsunami splash not once, but twice, and somehow Hayes kicked out both times, showing incredible resilience and heart. The crowd was getting behind Hayes organically, chanting his name, willing him to find a way to overcome the odds. This was textbook wrestling storytelling, the kind of match that creates stars when done right. Then, out of absolutely nowhere, Cody Rhodes' music hits. The American Nightmare walks down the ramp with that trademark smile, waving to the crowd like he's doing everyone a favor just by showing up. He positions himself at ringside, not interfering directly, but his presence alone changed the entire dynamic of the match. Bronson Reed, who had been laser-focused on destroying Hayes, suddenly had to divide his attention between his opponent and the undisputed WWE champion standing just feet away from the ring. Here's where it gets infuriating, and this is what WWE doesn't want you to think about too carefully. The moment Cody appeared, the referee should have ejected him from ringside. There was no storyline reason for him to be there. He wasn't scheduled for a segment. He had no announced business with either Hayes or Reed, but because he's Cody Rhodes, because he's management's golden boy, because he's the face of the company, the referee just lets him stand there and influence the outcome of the match. Quick question: can you name another time a top champion was allowed to interfere in a match without consequences? Comment below, because I bet you can't find many examples. The commentary team, Michael Cole and Corey Graves, immediately went into damage control mode, trying to explain why Cody was out there. They spun this narrative about Cody seeing potential in Carmelo Hayes, about the champion wanting to witness greatness, about Rhodes being a student of the game who appreciates talent. It was corporate propaganda at its finest, and if you bought it, I've got a bridge to sell you. The truth is much simpler and much more sinister. WWE wanted Carmelo Hayes to win this match, but they didn't trust him to get there on his own, so they sent out their top star to make sure it happened. Bronson Reed's reaction to Cody's presence was telling. He started jaw-jacking with Rhodes, pointing at him, telling him to leave, getting visibly distracted. And you know what? Reed had every right to be upset. Imagine you're in the biggest match of your recent run, you're dominating your opponent, you're about to secure a massive victory that would propel you up the card, and suddenly the company's top champion shows up for no reason and throws off your entire game plan. That's not fair competition. That's not giving everyone an equal opportunity. That's the exact opposite of everything WWE claims to stand for. The finish of the match was even more egregious. Bronson Reed went to the top rope, setting up for another tsunami splash that would have absolutely ended Carmelo Hayes. But as Reed was climbing, Cody Rhodes slapped the ring apron, creating a distraction at the perfect moment. Reed looked down at Cody, the two exchanged words, and in that split second of distraction, Hayes recovered, jumped up, and hit a desperation cutter that sent Reed crashing down. Hayes then hit his signature nothing but net for the 3 count and the victory. The crowd popped, Cody celebrated at ringside like a proud parent, and WWE acted like we just witnessed some beautiful moment of mentorship. But let's call this what it actually was: interference. Cody Rhodes interfered in a match and directly affected the outcome. It doesn't matter that he didn't physically touch either competitor. It doesn't matter that he didn't hit anyone with a chair or pull the referee. His presence and his actions changed the result of that match, and Carmelo Hayes' victory is now tainted forever. Do you think Carmelo's win counts as legitimate, or is it completely tainted by Cody's interference? Let me know in the comments section. The post-match celebration made everything worse. Cody entered the ring, raised Carmelo's hand like he had anything to do with the victory, and the two embraced while the crowd cheered. Hayes was smiling, clearly grateful for whatever help he'd received, but you could see something in his eyes. Was it pride? Was it relief? Or was it the realization that his big moment had been overshadowed by someone else? WWE cameras focused on Cody more than Carmelo during the celebration, which tells you everything you need to know about who this segment was really designed to benefit. Social media immediately exploded with divided opinions. Cody Rhodes' loyal fans defended him, arguing that he was just supporting a young talent and that his presence inspired Hayes to dig deeper and find the strength to win. But a growing number of fans saw right through the manipulation, calling out WWE for not trusting their younger stars and always needing to involve part-timers or top stars in moments that should belong to the next generation. The divide in the fanbase over this one segment shows just how controversial and poorly thought out this decision was. What makes this situation even more frustrating is Cody Rhodes' entire persona and character. He spent the last 2 years talking about finishing his story, honoring his father's legacy, doing things the right way, and respecting the business. He's positioned himself as the babyface champion who represents integrity and fair play. But then he goes out and interferes in a match, helping someone win through distraction tactics, and we're supposed to just accept it as wholesome mentorship? The hypocrisy is staggering, and it completely undermines everything Cody claims to stand for. Bronson Reed deserves a massive apology from WWE management, though he'll never get one. This man has been on an absolute tear since returning from injury. He's been booked as an unstoppable monster, destroying everyone in his path, building legitimate momentum as a top heel on SmackDown. One interference angle, one moment of storytelling, and suddenly his mystique is damaged. He didn't lose clean to Carmelo Hayes. He lost because the company's top champion stuck his nose where it didn't belong. That's not how you build stars or maintain the credibility of your monster heels. The long-term implications of this booking decision are concerning. What message does this send to Carmelo Hayes? That he can't win big matches without help? That he needs Cody Rhodes to hold his hand every time he faces serious competition? What about all the other young stars on the roster who are grinding every single week without any support from established names? Are they supposed to just hope that someday a top star will randomly decide to make them their pet project? This creates a two-tier system where success depends not on your talent or work ethic, but on whether you've been chosen by the right people. There's also the question of what comes next in this story. Is Cody going to continue mentoring Carmelo Hayes? Are they forming some kind of alliance? Or was this a one-off moment that will never be referenced again, making it even more pointless? WWE has a terrible track record of starting these mentor-mentee relationships and then abandoning them after a few weeks because creative has nothing for them. If that happens here, then this entire angle was a waste of everyone's time and did more harm than good to Carmelo's development as a single star. What do you think WWE should do next with this storyline? Should Cody continue helping Carmelo, or should Hayes reject the help and prove he can do it alone? Comment your fantasy booking. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why does WWE constantly feel the need to attach established stars to younger talent? Is it because they don't trust their own developmental system? Is it because they don't believe fans will care about new stars unless they're endorsed by someone they already know? Whatever the reason, it's a crutch that's preventing genuine star-making moments from happening organically. When Steve Austin became a megastar, he didn't need Hulk Hogan coming out to help him. When The Rock rose to prominence, he didn't need Bret Hart's assistance. They got over on their own talent and personality, and that's what made them legendary. The SmackDown locker room has to be watching this situation closely and taking notes. If you're someone like LA Knight, who's been clawing his way to the top through pure charisma and connection with the audience, how do you feel watching Carmelo Hayes get fast-tracked with help from Cody Rhodes? If you're someone like Austin Theory, who's been floundering without direction, are you wondering why you haven't been chosen for this kind of mentorship? The politics and favoritism that this creates backstage can be toxic, dividing the roster and breeding resentment that affects morale and performance. There's a business side to this that's equally troubling. WWE is clearly positioning Carmelo Hayes for a bigger push, which is great because he's incredibly talented. But by associating him so closely with Cody Rhodes right out of the gate, they're creating a situation where Hayes might always be seen as Cody's guy rather than his own man. Wrestling history is filled with examples of talented wrestlers who never escaped the shadow of their mentors. For every Randy Orton who eventually surpassed Evolution, there are 10 guys who remain forever known as someone else's protege. The match itself, separate from the controversy, was actually very good from a pure wrestling standpoint. Carmelo Hayes showed exactly why he was such a dominant champion in NXT. His timing, his athleticism, his ability to sell Reed's offense while still looking credible, all of it was top tier. Bronson Reed continued to prove why he's one of the most valuable big men in wrestling today. His agility for his size is remarkable, and his intensity makes every match feel important. These two could have, and should have, delivered this entire story without any outside involvement. Fan reactions at the arena told a mixed story. While many cheered for Cody's appearance and Hayes' victory, there were audible sections of the crowd booing when Rhodes got involved. Some fans chanted "Let them fight," showing their disapproval of the interference. WWE's production team did their best to minimize those negative reactions in the broadcast, but if you were there live or watched carefully, you could hear the discontent. That should concern WWE, because when your top babyface champion is generating boos for trying to help someone, you've miscalculated somewhere. The precedent this sets is dangerous for future booking. If Cody can just show up at ringside whenever he wants and influence matches without consequence, what's stopping other top stars from doing the same? What's preventing heels from using this as justification for their own interference? WWE has always had problems with logical consistency in their storytelling, and moments like this just make it worse. Rules need to mean something, or else nothing matters and fans stop investing emotionally in the outcomes. Wrestling journalists and insiders have been discussing this segment extensively, with most agreeing that while the intention might have been good, the execution was flawed. Some have reported that this was a last-minute addition to the show, which might explain why it felt so poorly thought out. Others suggest that this is the beginning of a longer storyline that will eventually see Hayes turn on Rhodes or vice versa, creating a new feud. If that's the case, then maybe this has potential, but WWE needs to actually follow through rather than dropping it like they've done with so many other angles. Compare this to how other companies handle building new stars. In AEW, when someone like MJF or Will Ospreay wants to elevate a younger talent, they do it through competition, through giving them spotlight matches where both sides look strong regardless of the outcome. They don't need to hold their hands or gift them victories. In New Japan, young lions earn their spots through years of proving themselves, and when they finally break through, it means something because they did it themselves. WWE's approach of constant intervention in manufactured moments feels hollow by comparison. The most frustrating part of all this is that Carmelo Hayes didn't need Cody Rhodes' help. Hayes is talented enough, charismatic enough, and over enough to beat Bronson Reed in a well-booked match without any interference. The fact that WWE didn't trust him to do that they felt the need to involve their top champion just to make sure the right outcome happened, shows a fundamental lack of faith in their own talent. And if WWE doesn't believe in these guys, why should we? This also raises questions about Cody Rhodes' creative control and influence within WWE. Is he pitching these mentorship angles? Is management assigning them to him? Does he have the authority to just insert himself into other people's matches without clearing it with creative? If Cody has that kind of power, it could explain a lot about why certain talents are getting opportunities while others are being left behind. Backstage politics in wrestling have always been a factor, but it's particularly troubling when it's this transparent and this disruptive to good storytelling. Looking ahead, WWE needs to make a choice about what kind of company they want to be. Do they want to be a place where stars are made through genuine achievement and organic connection with audiences? Or do they want to be a place where success is granted by association with the right people? Because right now, they're sending mixed messages, and it's confusing fans while potentially damaging the long-term prospects of talents like Carmelo Hayes who deserve better than being someone's project. So here's my final question for you, and I really want to hear your thoughts on this. Was Cody Rhodes helping Carmelo Hayes the worst booking decision on SmackDown this year? Or can you think of something worse? And do you think this helps or hurts Carmelo's career in the long run? Get in those comments right now because this conversation is far from over, and WWE needs to hear what the fans really think.